Hello, announcing something new that I want to do and want to try. And I've had the idea for a while, but I'm also very bad to actually action ideas. So I finally gone and done it. For my Medify that I sometimes still use, I use quite a bit. I decided to make a Discord server, and the whole point of the Discord server was, just wanted a place where I could talk through a list and stuff. I noticed all the other servers, like I used to just be very active in 20 law, and even other servers that you might find for Disney Lorcana, or people manage to find me on Discord and pop and say hello. But I'd rather just have one place where I can do it all, respond in sort of public, asking why am I running this card, what deck would you bring to this event, and just general Lorcana advice. And it'd just be cool to have that all under one roof. And I also, because the money that goes from this tier goes into charity organizations that help people with different issues, I wanted to also focus on maybe a little bit of mental health and things like that. So it should be a good space to talk about Lorcana, talk about the latest decks that I've been posting on the channel, and answering any questions you have, because I try and answer all comments. I'm sorry if I don't answer everyone's comments, and I'm sorry if I don't answer your question effectively enough, but now you have a platform where I should be able to respond and give better answers, and maybe answer another question if needed. So yeah, the requirements for the server is just subscribe to the Kiwi Bird tier on the Medify, which I'll link somewhere. Hopefully I remember to do that. And yeah, you get access to it. There's a link in the posts, like in the hidden behind this in the post thing, and it should all work. But if not, again, just message me if it doesn't work out, because I am terrible with technology and doing anything social media wise. But I think it should be a really fun environment. Of course, as well, we're still talking about Sapphire Steel and Kiwi in there. I'm hoping as well I could maybe get some of the greats, or maybe even not the, I said the greats, and then the next follow up is going to be a bit strange, and saying sort of friends that we've had on the server to join in, friends we've had on the channel, sorry, to join in and be in the server. Of course, like Justin, the creator of Kiwi Birds, as well as sort of Bad Vegas, who managed to get top four, I think, or top eight, sorry, in one of the DLCs. Maybe Justin Morales might be happy enough to join in, and just a few other, like Sapphire Steel Hall of Famers and legends that we can get in there. And hopefully they can chat with everyone, and just in general, just be a good little server environment for people who love Lorcana, and maybe connect a lot more with the decks that I post on my channel. So, the Sapphire Steel lists, as well as sort of the Amber Steel aggros, and recently it's been Blurple, and just really whatever's exciting, and lists that I've been enjoying that people seem to come together on them as well. So it should be a really fun thing to do. I've launched it right now. It's up and live. So if you subscribe to the Medify, you can get access to the server, and it's $1.50 or something like that. It all goes to good reasons and good causes. But yeah, besides that, I just wanted to promote that and mention it before anything else. I'll be tweeting about it as well, and just hopefully it can be a really fun environment, and everyone enjoys it. But if you didn't join this video, because I was going to double link it and do it on another topic as well, we had another store champs on the weekend, and we managed to come away with the win, playing Amber Steel aggro, which again, I'll link it back to my original thing, and I'll be talking about this list that I've just felt is, I don't know, I think even after playing it more, I felt it's probably best in format almost level good. I'll be talking about this list more on the server as well, because I've just really been enjoying it. And to be honest with you, I want to get to a point where I'm having to try new cards for matchups, but it's been so solid. I think the only thing that could really scare me is some very effective control purple steel, maybe. But even still, like, trying to count people's effective ways to answer the Rhino has been pretty weak. It's establishing something that has 2 strength on 1 or 2, and then using a crab to run it in and take it out. That's like the best I've seen. Actually, to be fair, on the weekend, someone managed to play Jolly Roger, because in Store Champs you usually get to play against some sort of fun and interesting decks. They're on a Pirate Red Steel. They played Jolly Roger on 1, and then they played a Pete that I'd never seen before, that was a 5/2, move it to Jolly Roger and rush it into the Rhino to remove it in 1. And I was like, that's mad. I didn't know that was a thing. That's probably the most creative way I've seen Rhino removed from the board. But the Store Champs was a fairly small one. It was a new store that started up in my region, which is really cool. And of course, we always want to support the new stores that are out there, so we can just get more events, more stuff going on, and more players playing the game. So yeah, when we played the event, it was 4 rounds into a top four cut, and round one it was against green purple discard, which I've felt, because of the power level of that deck, it's a bit of a toss up between us winning that or losing that. But you know, we went on the play. It was against a friend who I'd seen play a few other decks, so we made a mulligan call on it being a different deck from green purple discard. And even after the first 3 inks, I still thought it was green steel, because he's a good fan of green steel. He loved Bucky back in the day. But it ended up being green purple discard. But I think it's very strange for them. I think they can't go in on the Diablo route, and it's very hard for them to go on the discard route, so their deck has to use all the other utility in it, like, you know, the bouncing the foxes, and if they've got some techs like Peter Pan, Rush Genie can be useful. I've seen some Lewis's as well. The green alligator's pretty good. Those cards are all very useful as well for the matchup. But, you know, if you've just kind of made it as a general green-purple Diablo deck, it can be a bit strange. As I say, you establish a Diablo, and it's likely I'm not going to draw many cards, to be honest with you. The most you're going to get is from Dock, if I ever find a Dock. And if I ever find a removal action off the top, I'm going to remove it. So it just sits there, like getting you a card a turn. So you kind of need to sing Friends from it to undo the damage of losing, discarding an action and playing the Diablo on the board. To kind of, yeah, even yourself out, Ben, because you want as much resources as you can. And you can't really discard them, because the minute you start setting up a Prince John and going to attack hand, I'm just going to dump everything on the board and play off the top, because the deck can quite effectively play off the top. It's got a few like 1-drops that are quite dead draws, and the Ursulas can be, but even the songs, sometimes you top deck them and you hard play them and full quest, and, you know, that's enough for you to win the game. So we ended up coming away with the win from that. But, you know, we played for the entire day. We did not drop a game the entire day, except we played the same person in the finals, and we went 2-1 in the end. And yeah, they had the amazing things where, like, you can Ursula on 2 and rip any song, so I have to top deck a song, get the Peter Pan established, and then your 2-drop Diablos and your Genies, and everything just comes in a rush and attacks things. You know, you can even do some creative plays where the 3-drop Diablo rushes in, takes out like a little Cindy or a little Rhino, or does 2 damage to a Daisy. And then it's able to start getting the card draw as well, because it exerted after the challenge from the Peter Pan. So that stuff's really cool. But I don't know, I always find that matchup a bit of a toss up of who sees what better things. And you still are Amber Steel, so you could just end up with a bunch of songs in hand and not really any characters, and they just keep discarding you, and you're never able to sing them, and it bricks and it breaks. But we've been fairly lucky on this matchup, so I'd still say that matchup is maybe more favored. Maybe it is like 55% win rate for Amber Steel and 45 for green purple, in my opinion. I think some people would say it differently. But then the next round was again the fun matchup. It was red steel pirates, which is just what you find at store champs, and that was quite cool. To be fair, that was one of the most struggling games. So game one, we sort of just ran away with it, you know, singing the removal and just rushing ahead and won it. Game two, they managed to triple Calhoun, and I had no song removal. All I was doing was building up a board as they built up their board, and just like trying to find a song, like literally hoping the next card off the top was a Zeus or something. Eventually we had like 12 or 10 or whatever lore on the board, and we just full quested and said, well, okay, your Calhoun trades there, then that trades there, that dies to that, and, you know, we were just trying to figure it all out. But that was quite an interesting matchup. Yeah, to be fair, red steel and purple steel, I feel, always kind of do all right into these aggro decks. You know, Calhoun is just quite a powerful card into anything that doesn't have 1 strength. You know, I think we even at one point they took a piglet out of a Calhoun, and then we ran a lady into their Calhoun just to remove it, because the rest of the board was all 1 strength characters. It was like Ursulas and Rhinos and Cindy's and Daisies. So for me to make it effective, I had to get rid of my lady. Otherwise, you know, he would have just cleaned up and then took out the lady. So yeah, it is a very strange match. I think Calhoun could really change everything. I think if people put Calhoun in their lists more, it would really change this up. But of course, we still play Ursula and Zeus, so if I would have found it in those matchups, it maybe would have been a different. If they're playing a Calhoun on 2 and I've got Ursula set up to sing Zeus, I don't really mind that they played that uninkable card. But yeah, it still was quite interesting. After that, we played a couple Ruby Sapphire Workshop, which everyone always says is like this deck's bread and butter. Like if that phrasing doesn't translate well to other regions, it just means like their best matchup. Like it's the one they should always be winning. I always hate that matchup. I never like it. I think Little Sisu is a bit rough into the shift line. You have to effectively win within the first 3 turns. There is no like get out of jail card for that. There is no way back into the game. Whereas some of the other matchups, you know, they get to their top end, I'm not as scared of it. But if they're at their top end and they have the workshop set up and they've B prepped and anything else I play is going to be Sisu'd, I can never really use Rapunzel to get any value unless I let the Storm or Strength my own things, which is rough. So they cut like half of the draw engine of the deck is already gone because you can't get any Rapunzel value unless they very unfortunately have to like sing with a Tala, but you don't get that in Ruby Sapphire Workshop. They just pretty much don't put anything on the board until they start winning it. Maybe a free Scrooge or something like that. But and we always get in that matchup, I always get a little bit worried because the likely chances they're not going to get Bow Down turn 1 and they're not going to get a free Scrooge on board. But if they do, I probably lose the trade to too good. So I like to keep an Ursula and a Zeus just to make sure I can delete anything they play so they have no way in. But if they never play anything, I'm stuck with these 2 dead cards that didn't really do much. And my turn 2 was play 1 Quester. So it's always kind of a matchup that scares me. It was against a Cheacher build, which is a deck I've had to sort of learn is quite getting a bit popular again. And that was fine. Like the Cheacher was interesting because as the game 1 I just went for the full aggressive route. I didn't really play any singers and ended up having to hardcast a strength on a Cheacher because it would have just been the best trade ever with my Piglet, which was just so strange. And in one of the games they double Cheachered, which I was like, hold on, if one of those Cheacher's quests it can run in and get rid of my Daisy, and that's mad. So yeah, that was all kind of learning that matchup a little bit, but I've noticed a lot of them don't always run the Little Sisu because they need the uninkable space in the deck. So we ended up winning that, and on the draw it felt kind of on the draw is where it feels rough for me. On the play I tend to be able to aggro it up fine and I'm not that worried about it, but if I'm on the draw it just feels like, you know, they get that, they play their whatever, you play your Daisy, then they ramp and you're going into like your 2 ink turn and they've got 4 ink or whatever, and it's just not great. It always feels rough. They play a Scrooge down, and you know you've got a Daisy. That's why I kind of like the default of keeping Ursula and Zeus. So if they do play that Scrooge, I can just remove it and then everything's able to quest for free. Yeah, it's just I always find it for some reason, maybe it's that thing of like, you know, when you're paired into a really good matchup, you get that stage fright of, oh no, I should win this. What if I don't win it? But I never loved playing into it, but managed to get the win still in the end. And I think it was down to them not having the Little Sisus in the deck because they remove something, they create a very terrifying shift line. And if they remove my Singer, I'm not really feeling like I want to hardcast Let the Storm on it. So yeah. That's all interesting, but we managed to get the win. And then we played Ruby Amethyst Shark, and we played that twice, once in Swiss and once in the Top Cut. And I think as long as you are able to get rid of their Peter Pan or predict what they might be able to do with that Peter Pan, of course, Shark is the big one, you tend to be fine with that. And again, it was a matchup where I felt a lot more certain and better keeping the Ursula and the Zeus, because I knew if it wasn't going to be Peter Pan, it was going to be a Genie, or it was going to be the 2-cost Ursula that I'm run as the tech card now, the 1/3 that has Challenger 2. I knew there was going to be a target for it, and I knew they might keep back a Chernobog if you play a Cindy turn 1, but you know eventually they're going to have to play something on board, and if not, they're just going to lose the game. And I had some strange plays where they played the Diablo turn 1. I play. This was on the draw, sorry. They'll play the Diablo turn 1. I've played my Cindy, and they'll play my Ursula, and I will sing Let the Storm on their Diablo, knowing that they will hit it with the Peter Pan Rush. So then I can let the Storm the Peter Pan Rush, so then the Genie doesn't get Rush, and then I can just Lady and go wide and full quest for a bunch and not be as afraid. I can only be fearful of maybe them removing one card from one character from my board, like with a Maui or something like that. So it's a very interesting matchup. I think it can be played to be a little bit more in their favor, and especially if they included cards like Queen of Heart and the Medusa, that when you do damage you can bounce the thing back. But you know, I've noticed playing this more, and maybe this is why I'm feeling like the deck can be almost best deck in format and better than Ruby Sapphire Shark, which is kind of where my opinions still stand, as Ruby Sapphire Shark is the best deck in the game. But you have just realized that you're playing Ursula on 2 and Zeusing anything they play is gigantic in this game, and especially for an aggro style deck where you know if you play a Daisy turn 1, play Ursula and you Zeus anything, then you play Lady into Piglet, and if you're lucky enough to get another removal song, you can just keep questing all those characters, and you don't even need to draw any more cards because you're probably just going to quest out and win the game. So it is huge, really, what you can do with this deck. You know, when it's working properly. You still have some games that I was very lucky and fortunate. I had one game, you know, where it was just drawing 1-drops, no songs, and just getting no docks either. Sometimes as well, you kind of know you lost the game, but you kind of think, if I get a dock off the top, I could maybe win this game. So yeah, it's still very interesting in that situation where it seems insanely powerful, but it has no way back into a game, and sometimes it just doesn't work. You still do practice games where it just doesn't work. You know, it's not saying the cards in the right order. The mulligan ended up screwing you up. I always want to kind of do a safe mulligan, but in the finals, I ended up sending back like 6 cards because my entire hand was unplayable, and all I kept was a big rhino because I was like, if I find the little one, I probably win this game, but if I don't, that's fine. And it is that I've been very much enjoying this deck because it's in the same playstyle as the deck I've been playing in One Piece in practice for Manchester Regionals. It's a very do or die deck. You know, you just, in the first 3 or 4 turns, you play these explosive turns, and if you haven't won, you're probably not going to win later on in the game. You have no real get back into the game type cards. It's, besides maybe a dock off the top into board spamming, that's the only real kind of get back into the game you have. And it's really, what can I achieve with the first 10 cards of the deck? I was saying in the earlier versions, like first 20 cards, and to be honest with you, I'm going to bring it down to 10 because you can win these games by, as I say, the lines of Daisy, Ursula singing Zeus into Lady, Piglet, or whatever. That can just win you a game on the spot. So I've been really enjoying that playstyle. I know a lot of people find it a bit dull because, you know, games are very short and sometimes it feels like your opponent had no way into it, but I think sometimes it's worth noting, thinking about, you know, the effort that you put into the mulligan, making sure that you've done everything correctly to win in those first few turns, and taking the gamble on maybe riskier mulligans, like I say, keep a big rhino, hoping for 1-drop and maybe some songs to keep everything for it to sing, and hopefully drawing a dock as well. So yeah, I've been enjoying it very much. And it feels hard to say what its weak spots are. I think if I played into more Purple Steel and maybe with some more Blurple that was getting Bell down turn 1 quite effectively, I'd have struggled. But overall, yeah, I really would like to try some new cards in there. I took out the Svens. I kind of want to just put them back in. I'd say the main flex spot for the deck is Lawrence. You tend to not want to play Lawrence. The only time I felt Lawrence is absolutely vital is if I'm going into, say, Blurple on the draw and I know they're just going to Elsa me. So I don't want to play Lady Piglet there. I just want to put a Lawrence down and say, this is very awkward for you because now your Elsa can't exert and remove it. And then from there on out to pop it, you're going to have to find some way to deal damage to it. If they don't have a Tipo on board, that's fairly awkward for them. The Elsa running into it's fine, but it's still like, you know, they can Elsa Genie and it just doesn't feel great. The next turn you just let the Storm, the Elsa, remove it, and then just keep going wide. The Lawrence definitely is a card you can remove and flex out. I think if you wanted to go heavier in the control, you could do something like Sky, who's just joined the Maelstrom team, which was awesome to see. He's gone for the 4X aerial and then plays Be Our Guest, and it's just basically a constant resource machine of throwing stuff on the board. He's one doesn't run daisies. It's kind of really heavy on just being a control list, but I feel like with this one you could easily just maybe go, I'm gonna go lean a little bit more on the control and take Lawrence out and play aerial, because, you know, as you're building up boards, you can play the singer who's just going to grab any song that it can sing, or if you already have a singer set up, you can grab a song for it to sing. So yeah, I think that's really cool. Really the only card I want to change around is Lawrence. Besides that, it's just been performing very well and I've not had any reason to doubt the ratios and numbers or choices of cards. But yeah, that's just update on sort of the store champs I played in, and we've got a server now for anyone who wants to be a Kiwi bird, and maybe I can get a Kiwi bird tag that I've seen going around on Discord. So thank you.